Why you should not fear death. Hello and welcome to Zen Buddhism Wisdom. Today, we're going to explore one of the deepest and most misunderstood topics of all, death. But wait. What if everything you've been told about death is wrong? What if the fear of death is nothing more than a misunderstanding? We live in a world where death is seen as the ultimate tragedy, something terrifying, something final, something dark and unknown. But is that really true? The Buddha once said, all conditioned things are impermanent. And yet, we spend our entire lives running from this truth. We avoid thinking about death, pretending it won't happen, pushing it to the back of our minds. But here's the paradox: by fearing death, we also fear life. So today, let's dive deep into the wisdom of Buddhism and uncover why you should not be afraid of death. We'll explore how embracing impermanence can free us from suffering and allow us to live more fully than ever before. Are you ready to open your mind and see death, not as the end, but as a profound teacher? Let's begin. From the moment we are born, we are moving toward death. This is an undeniable truth, one that has shaped human thought, philosophy, and spirituality for millennia. And yet, despite its certainty, death remains one of the greatest sources of fear and suffering. Why does the prospect of death trouble us so deeply? At its core, the fear of death arises from three fundamental anxieties: the fear of the unknown, the fear of losing ourselves, and the fear of separation. We do not know what happens after we die, and uncertainty breeds anxiety. We fear losing the identity we have spent a lifetime constructing, the collection of thoughts, memories, and emotions that we call me. We fear being separated from those we love, from the people and experiences that have given our lives meaning. This fear is so deeply ingrained that it has influenced everything from ancient burial rituals to modern scientific advancements aimed at prolonging life. The great Egyptian pharaohs built pyramids to house their bodies and treasures, believing they could carry their wealth into the afterlife. Today, billions of dollars are poured into anti-aging research and life extension technologies, all fueled by the same underlying fear: the desperate attempt to escape the inevitable. But what if our fear is based on an illusion? What if we have misunderstood the nature of life and death altogether? Buddhism presents a radical perspective, one that challenges our most deeply held assumptions. The Buddha taught that our sense of self is an illusion, a fleeting combination of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions that constantly change. This doctrine, known as anatta, or non-self, tells us that what we call me has no fixed existence. Imagine a river. The water flows ceaselessly, never the same from one moment to the next. The river you see today is not the same river as yesterday, yet we still call it by the same name. Our existence is much the same. We change from moment to moment, physically, mentally, emotionally. The self that existed when you were a child is not the same self reading these words now. If there is no permanent, unchanging self, then what is there to lose in death? The 13th century Zen master Dogen captured this beautifully when he said, "To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things." When we stop clinging to the illusion of an individual, separate identity, we see the deeper truth: we are not isolated beings, but part of an interconnected flow, much like waves on the ocean. Death, then, is not the destruction of something real, it is merely a transition in this continuous flow. If there is one truth that underlies all of existence, it is impermanence. Everything changes. The seasons shift from spring to winter. Flowers bloom and wither. Mountains, though they seem eternal, are slowly worn away by time. Even the stars above us, which have shone for millions of years, will one day burn out. And yet, we resist change. We cling to youth, fearing old age. We grasp at relationships, fearing their loss. But no matter how tightly we hold on, life moves forward. There is a Zen story that illustrates this beautifully. A student once asked his master, "How can I accept impermanence?" The master picked up a glass and said, "I love this glass. It holds my water well, it shines in the sunlight. But I know that one day, it will break. When the wind knocks it over, or someone drops it, it will shatter. Knowing this, I enjoy it fully now. Because to me, it is already broken." This is how we should approach life. Everything we cherish, our youth, our relationships, our achievements, is already broken in the sense that it will not last forever. But rather than despairing, we should cherish each moment more deeply, knowing that its impermanence makes it precious. Buddhism does not see death as an end, but as a transition. The law of karma states that our actions, thoughts, and intentions shape not only this life but also what comes after. Just as a farmer plants seeds and reaps the harvest later, the energy we create in this life influences what unfolds in the next. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the process of dying as moving through different states of awareness. It teaches that one's experience after death depends on their state of mind at the moment of passing. If one clings to fear and attachment, the transition can be turbulent. But if one dies in peace, with an open heart, the journey can be smooth. This is why many Buddhist monks meditate on death daily, not as a morbid exercise, but as a practice of acceptance. Instead of fearing death, they familiarize themselves with it, so that when the moment comes, they meet it with serenity. The Buddha himself compared death to changing clothes. When a set of robes is old and worn, we discard it and put on a new one. Similarly, when our physical body is no longer useful, our consciousness moves forward, shaped by the karma we have created. So rather than fearing what comes after, the more important question is, how are we living right now? If death is inevitable, how can we meet it with peace instead of fear? The answer lies in how we live. When we stop resisting change, we find freedom. When we live mindfully, we stay present rather than worrying about an uncertain future. A Zen monk once said, "When I eat, I eat. When I walk, I walk. When I die, I die." Simple, yet profound. Living fully in the moment leaves no room for fear. Much of our suffering comes from clinging, to people, to success, to life itself. But nothing was ever truly ours to begin with. When we let go, we experience peace. A life lived with kindness and wisdom creates good karma. When we act selflessly, we transcend the ego and touch something greater than ourselves. Far from being morbid, meditating on death brings clarity. The samurai of ancient Japan followed the Bushido code, which taught them to think about death each day. By doing so, they lived with greater courage and purpose. The same is true for us. When we accept death, we stop wasting time on trivial worries. We focus on what truly matters: love, wisdom, and compassion. Death is not the enemy. It is a teacher, a reminder that life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. When we accept death, we stop fearing it. We begin to live fully, without hesitation, without regret. So the question is no longer, how can I avoid death? but rather, how can I live so fully that when death comes, I can meet it with open arms? Instead of fearing death, we can embrace it as one of life's greatest teachers. The knowledge that our time here is limited can be a powerful awakening. It reminds us to live with intention, love wholeheartedly, speak with kindness, and let go of unnecessary burdens. When we truly understand impermanence, we stop wasting time on trivial worries, chasing things that hold no real meaning. Instead, we shift our focus to what truly matters: compassion, wisdom, and inner peace. The Buddha himself faced death without fear. He taught that those who are enlightened do not grieve the end because they see beyond beginnings and endings. They see only the continuous flow of existence. Throughout history, many great monks have embraced death with peace, even joy, showing us that we too can cultivate a mind free from fear, a mind rooted in understanding. Death is not the end. It is not to be feared. It is simply a transformation, a part of the great cycle of existence. And once we accept this truth, we are no longer enslaved by fear, we are liberated. This video comes to an end. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom to receive more insightful teachings on life, death, and the path to peace. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.